Hello everyone, I'm Christina Gill, and welcome back to Marshall Close-Up. Our guest today is a former gunner's mate in the Navy. After his enlistment, he went to college and got a bachelor's degree in teaching. Throughout the next 22 years, he served in as many roles in the education field, including the current Marshall County Schools Superintendent. Please help me welcome Dr. Miracle.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So I just wanted to ask, what drew you to Marshall County?
Well, actually, I had some experience with Marshall County as far back as when I was principal for the first time at Hebron Middle School in Bullitt County. I had sent some teachers down to Benton, old Benton Middle School, to spend a day or two looking at some things that were going on there because they had a really good reputation of what they were doing in the school. And we actually had some things brought back that we were learning from them to implement in our school. So as far back, that's 2010. As far back as 2010, I had some knowledge of Marshall County, and then when I was superintendent in Trimble County, we actually had some exposure to Marshall County as well, because when we were going through the process there of creating a graduate profile, Marshall County had already completed theirs, right. And so we were in a lot of sessions with Marshall County leadership, getting some information from their process and how they went. So from the educational standpoint, I had some previous exposure and knowledge of Marshall County. And Marshall County Public Schools is very well known throughout the state anyway, and has been for quite some time. And I was actually just at a gathering at Western Kentucky last week for gifted and talented students in Bowling Green at Western Kentucky, and other superintendents were there, and somebody I hadn't seen in a while came and congratulated me for being here. And the conversation always is, Marshall County is one of the top positions in the state, from a superintendent standpoint, because it's such a great place. And beyond that, all I'd ever heard about the community in Marshall County was just very good, positive things, and it's a great community, which has 100% been the truth. So that's kind of how my knowledge coming into when I saw that it was open, I had a lot of exposure to it and interest in the position because of all of those things.
So you said Marshall County is like really well known in the state. What makes it so unique? What makes it so well known?
Well, the school system has been involved at the state level in a lot of the innovative practices that have been going on in the state from an educational standpoint. The graduate profile development being one of those. Some things with personalized learning that have been implemented. Some of the things that are in some of our elementaries that, at South Middle, those pieces. Those are bigger, attached to larger state initiatives. And Marshall County has always been one of the within the top 3 or 5 to implement something within the state that's where others are kind of thinking we're not sure that that's something we want to do. Marshall County has always been a quick innovator, and that's a good thing, because we definitely need to begin to change how we provide education for you all, because you're a different clientele than our education system was actually designed to serve.
Oh, wow. So what's your goal for our district then?
Well, our goal is always to provide the best opportunities for students all the way around. So, obviously we're an educational institution, so we want to provide the best educational opportunities and experiences for all of you from the time you enter the system until the time you graduate. But there's a lot more involved than just the educational piece. We also want to provide all the other aspects of social, emotional experiences, caring for the students from the time they enter our system until the time they leave, whether they enter in kindergarten or whether they move in as a 6th grader and then they finish out here. It doesn't matter when they enter our system. From the time they enter, we want to be able to provide them everything we can for them to be successful when they leave. And that is actually the best measure. I know there's a lot of things that have gone on through the years with test scores in the state, and and even ACT scores get thrown out there a lot as far as ways to measure success of students. But really, the means for measuring the success of students is Did we prepare them to go out of our district and into whatever they're going to be, whether it's going to be a job or if it's going to be college or if it's going to be trade school? Are they equipped to be successful in that? And that's part of the work I really want to get into is making sure that we're letting our students understand that your passion is what drives you to that success. It's not for me to say that you need to go to college. If you tell me I want to just graduate and get a job, then great, let me help you find that path. If that's your passion, then let me help you find that path. That's what we should be doing. And there's a lot of other things aside from the educational component, like I've already said, that go into whether or not you all can be successful. We've got to help build in those points of resilience and persistence so that you can, once you leave school and you're out kind of in what a term I don't like to use, which is the real world. I hear that a lot. And, the real world's constantly changing, so we don't know what the real world really is for you when you graduate. But meaning that when you're out in the world, no longer in a more caring environment, you're out there working and being able to handle the difficulties, the stress that sometimes comes with just regular life. We have to be able to instill that in you all before you leave.
Right. And so what do you do if someone doesn't have a passion? How do you recommend that person find that passion in Marshall County?
Well, that's the challenge. That is what we have to work on through basically the foundation of everything we do as educators is relationships. That's foremost in everything we do. So, again, we're an educational institution, so some people would say, well, isn't the content that you teach the most important thing? Not really, because if I don't have a good relationship with the people in my classroom, then it doesn't always lend for you to learn from me if I don't have the ability to really connect. There has to be a connection. And it's through those relationships and those connections that hopefully we can begin to know our students and know their strengths. So, if you're that person that says, I don't have a passion, I don't know what it is, then it's maybe that person, as a teacher, as a mentor that has gotten to know you, that's able to say, look, I don't know if you realize it, but you have some strengths, really great strengths in this area and this area, and this might be an avenue that you might look on. And then part of that is to be able to, when we talk about providing opportunities, part of that is to be able to provide opportunities for you to experience some of those things. Because the other side of this is you may think you have a passion in something, and if you get a little bit of experience in that, you may realize, I don't like that. So that's not what I thought it was. And it's important for us to offer that too. So an example would be all of you all that are involved with this program, you're getting a very great experience into something that obviously you all have a passion at. But at the same time, somebody might have the passion to do this until they actually do it, and then they may realize they don't like being in front of a camera or they don't like interviewing someone. And that's important too, and it just helps to reshift. So that's how we have to look at providing opportunities. Now, there's a challenge to that because there's so much involved. It's so complex. There's so many of you all. There's so many different directions we'd have to go, and we'll never be able to meet every person's passion and every opportunity. But that's the challenge that we have: is how do we at least do the best job we can.
So, what has been your number one obstacle in Marshall County to reach that goal of passion?
Well, I'm just here for, in the first year right now, so I can't say that that's necessarily that there's been a barrier to that. I think that not within the county. I think the barriers that exist to that, again, really come in at just more within the educational system, state and national level, as far as regulations that are in place and funding and that type of thing. And there's a lot that we have to deal with. In my position, a lot of things that I have to deal with legislators, like we're currently during legislative session. I've been to Frankfurt a couple of times to meet with legislators, constantly texting and calling them as we go through when there's certain bills that come up, how they affect school systems and education. And there are things that are changing. I mentioned earlier the assessment and the accountability system that has been in place, testing, you probably know it better as that, but testing, and that's, in my view, that's been detrimental to education for a long time because it has put such an emphasis on trying to get good test scores, that educators begin to be judged by those test scores, so they really take those serious. And what it ends up being is, it's not about the student anymore. It's about can we get good test scores so that I can say, look what we're doing as a school, look what I'm doing as a teacher. In reality, they're your test scores. However we score, they're your test scores. So if we score really well, it's our students that really, it's look what our students did. It's not look what I did. It's not look what we did. So, but that has created that problem, and it's taken an emphasis away, because what happens is we have stopped in education teaching certain things that are important because they're not on the assessment. So the good news is that the state is moving, and nationally there's a movement away from the high stakes accountability assessment, finding other measures of performance to show that students have mastered what they have to learn, but that's in its infancy. Our state level has begun that process this year, moving forward and trying to create a new assessment system that will be much more geared towards allowing something that's actually valid to be a range of success for schools and students to measure.
So you said that since Marshall County has accepted a bunch of bills, a bunch of new rules quite quickly, more than other schools, would you say that that gives Marshall County a few more problems that we haven't predicted at all?
Well, so what I was meaning there is that Marshall County has been very quick to be innovative in its approaches to education through the years, probably going back as far as 2010 at least, which means anytime that you're kind of in that front leading edge of initiatives, that there is risk. Anytime you're doing anything innovative, there's a risk of mistake. There's a risk of not knowing what it is the end result is, because you're in a lot of cases you're doing something that's never been done.
Right.
So there's no model to follow. So sometimes you have to readjust. So yes, it does bring its own set of problems, but those are good problems. So if you're being innovative to improve what you're offering to students and how you're offering it to students, and you're having to readjust because, well, that one didn't work the way we thought it would. Obviously we don't like to fail, but one of those things, again, that we all have to accept in life is that sometimes we all make mistakes. Sometimes we do have small failures, and that's one of the important things that we can also provide for you all while you're here, is the ability to experience failure. And I know that, traditionally in education, failure is bad. You say nobody wants to fail, but failure for you all is affordable right now.
Right.
Now, we don't want anybody to fail courses or anything like that, but everybody should have some struggle. Struggle is a learning process, so that would be the way I would come back to your question and say that even at our level, with the innovative approaches, sometimes that creates a struggle for us, a struggle to get it right, a struggle to get in place the best model that we want. So, but again, that's a very good problem for us to have.
So where do you see Marshall County in the next 5 years?
Well, I would hope that in the next 5 years they would maintain the level of prestige that they have in the state of being the early adopters and the early innovators. But beyond that, I would hope that they actually can become established as one of the first to really, truly, fully be implemented with a new educational system, through assessment and accountability, and just how we offer, how we deliver instruction and education as well, and the many different opportunities. So, there are some things that even here we can work on and improve, and so in the next 5 years, that would be, hopefully we're working currently on a strategic plan at the district level for the next 5 years. So those goals are not really 100% set in place, because that's been a process. We have surveyed community, students, staff. We did that kind of back in December. We have completed the analysis of that survey data and actually prioritized the things that we learned from that data to be able to start utilizing those to formulate the goals. But we will have anywhere from 3 to 5 goals for this district over the next 5 years. By the end of this school year, we'll have that plan in place. So that will be something that's in work right now. That's, to your question, this is really not so much about what my vision or my goal is. I mean, I'm involved in it and I have that, but my vision is that it's a collaborative goal, it's a collaborative vision, it's not just mine. That it's something that everybody here, students, parents, community, staff, all are involved and have a collaborative input in that.
So would you say that the December 10th tornado kind of offed your plans a little bit?
It did a little bit. That and COVID, it put us behind a little bit. We've got a facilitator that comes in and works with us in strategic planning, and we had to cancel some meetings for her for having COVID, and that was in January, and we did actually we put the survey out that Monday before the tornado. We put that survey out for a 2-week period, so we had probably about 2,000 people respond to that survey, which was really good. But I'm assuming that Friday when the tornado hit, that following week when the survey was open, we probably didn't have a whole lot of people answering that survey. So
right.
I'm sure we would have gotten more responses had we not had the tornado, because we would have the second week sent something out reminding people. But obviously, as it was, for one, we didn't have internet during that week, and it wouldn't have been something we would have been focused on because we were focused on serving the community during that week.
So the disaster days, if they're approved, will our schedule go back to normal?
We have it in place that if that bill passes to where those days are forgiven, that we could go back to just a normal schedule, taking the minutes we've added off the day, and we probably will do that. We approved that change with the language that allows us to come back if that bill passes and remove that, and because we won't need the time at this point. So yes, to answer your question.
And so there seems to be a lot of conversations over a 6 class schedule instead of a 4-class schedule. Is it possible that our schedule will change soon?
Well, that is a school decision. That is not a decision that I make. That would be something that the staff and the site-based council would really work on to determine. It could, if that's discussion. That has not come to my level, right. But you're here. You may be hearing it. There's good and bad to all schedules. So really, it's a matter. That should be a collaborative effort because everybody has to, for the most part, have a consensus and a buy-in to what is the schedule going to be. And I think that you all as students should have some say in that. Like, you all should give some discussion and have the input to give to that, to say, hey, what do you think is the better schedule? Like, what do you think about the current schedule, and how would it look if you were in a 6-period day versus the one you're in? And in the end, the decision needs to be made based upon how can we best deliver those opportunities and the instruction that we want to deliver. What's the most effective way to you all for us to do that?
Well, I think that's all the time we have for today. Thank you so much
You're
for
welcome.
coming. We can't wait to see your legacy built in Marshall County. And thank you so much for joining us on Marshall Close Up. Have a wonderful day.